Councilmember Buttacovoli, going once. Going twice. Okay, good evening, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Marysville, today, Tuesday, March 5th, 2019, at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Simmons?
Here.
Mr. Buttacovoli? Here. Ms. McKenzie? Here. Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Samayoa?
Here. Let's move to item 3, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask everyone to stand and join me on the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. You ready? This time I'd like to ask our city manager, Ms. Brown, if there's any changes to the agenda.
Yes, there is. There's one change. We've added item 6C, Life-Saving Award for Police Officer Herb Culver.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
So moved.
Motion by Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Simmons. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved with a vote of 5-0. So we have 3 presentations. One is certificate of appreciation for the following community development and services staff: Mr. Ken Alameda, Randy Kursick, Stephen Mollinger, Sean Davis, Sean Wallen, John Jenkins, Anthony Murphy, David Kelly, and Michael Brandon. We'll also be doing 2 ceremonies, life-saving awards for the fallen police officers: Catherine Denison, Police Officer Bradley Grant, Fire Engineer Skylar Hale, Fire Captain Aaron Van DeBort, and Fire Engineer Matthew Lichtenstein. We'll also have, as approved, life-saving award for Police Officer Mr. Herb Culver. With that, we'll start with the certificates of appreciation. Are you going to come up with me, Jim? Sure. Thank you. We have some, maybe I'll give you a time to provide.
Oh, sure. Good evening, Jim Bermudez, Community Development and Services Director. Thank you for coming out today. What we wanted to do is give a certificate of appreciation for what would be the public services staff. As many know, we've been experiencing a high level of rainfall this year. And one thing that has, I think, come out through this whole last several months is, one, the amount of rainfall and our system capacity as infrastructure for the city as a whole has been running very, very well. And a lot of that has to do with the great work of the public services staff, as well as in conjunction with other departments, fire, public safety as well, and great communication on that regard. And as a token and as an appreciation for the work that has been put in with the public services staff, it's an honor to serve and award him with a certificate. I think the other thing to add is just as how busy they have been is with the limited staff that we do have on that side. These individuals that are recognized today actually have, during that heavy rainfall period, have experienced work hours that have been 4 hours on, 4 hours off, and been working 24/7 when we do get these high water events and heavy rainfall. So greatly appreciate all the work they've done, and I think they represent the city very proudly.
Thank you for that. And I think for us as a council, I just want to read what the certificates say for you and for the public to hear. The City Council would like to express a sincerest appreciation for going above and beyond during the recent storm events. We appreciate your commitment and tireless hours that you put forth on a daily basis. And once again, thank you for providing excellent service and representation to the city and our residents. We're very proud of you, and I can tell you the best indicator for me at least, and I don't know for other councils, really I haven't heard any complaints from our public, from the residents, which means a lot, especially during these rain storms. And I could tell just by our neighbors and our residents we're doing great. So I know you're doing a lot of preventive work and then work during the actual rainy event. So thank you so much for your work, fellas. Let's bring all of you out here. I'll name each of you, and we have a certificate here for you, and we'll go from there. Mr. Ken Alameda, the boss, the man, the legend, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you. Why don't we go over here? Go. Come on over. Yeah, there's only one over. Yeah. Who else is here? Okay. We also have certificates for Anthony Murphy. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. The remainder folks, they probably might be working too. Sean Davis, Sean Walling, Mr. David Keller, Stephen Mulderher, John Jenkins, Michael Brandon, and Stephen Randy Kirstig. Let's give him a round of applause. Good job, guys. Sirs. Now we'll go to item 6B, life-saving awards for the followers mentioned. This comes from our both chief, police, and fire. Sir.
Good evening. This evening I have the honor and pleasure of honoring two of our police officers, Officer Catherine Dennison and Officer Bradley Grant, with a life-saving award for the department. On December 14th, 2018, around noontime, they were dispatched to a call for service of a man in the lake at Ellis Lake behind the AAA office. They responded and arrived on scene. They observed the 61-year-old male that was laying face down on his stomach in the water. Without hesitation, Officer Grant and Officer Dennison jumped into Ellis Lake and pulled this man out of the water onto the sidewalk. He was unresponsive. There was no signs of life. He was blue to the face. And as a team, they worked together to begin CPR on this gentleman until our fire department and Bi-County ambulance arrived on scene. So Fire Chief Carlin's here to talk about the efforts of his firefighters as well, because it was truly a team effort. I can't be more proud to honor the two of them for what they did. They put, the selfless actions of them jumping into the lake, put themselves in harm's way to get, with those slimy rocks and everything else that are out there, just to try to pull somebody out of the lake is an endeavor in and of itself. But then to get out soaking wet from, the moss and whatever else that's hanging off of them to, perform CPR and go above and beyond what they're normally trained to do, and to save this gentleman's life is truly remarkable, and I'm honored to have them work for our agency. So we'll have them come up here in just a minute, but I'll pass it over to Chief Carlin.
I would just echo what Chief Sachs has already stated, but I had the pleasure of rolling in behind our engine and actually being there to witness all this kind of unfold, along with putting rubber gloves on myself, trying to figure that out as fire chief. But jumping in to help the guys, but watching how these guys were seamless. It was a handoff, and I credit all the way from the person that witnessed this event, that made the phone call, activated 911, police officers showing up first, being able to pull the individual out of the water, which, from a purist perspective, and we have some case that has happened before where people go, I'm not trained to do that. I don't have the right PPE to jump in and save that person. But these officers didn't care about that. They knew that a person had to be saved and did that, jumped in and made a difference in saving this person's life. And then with our fire folks, seamless handoff, they went right into the life-saving mode of, what it takes to resuscitate and bring a person back, and clearing that airway out, which a person swallowed a bunch of water, obviously been in the water for a while, and then be able to hand off the ambulance and then get this person transported to the hospital. But I just echo the same thing. I'm so proud of both sides of the force, both police and fire, and how they handled this. It was just like a machine, and I just kind of helped where I could, but just enjoyed watching how things were seamless and how they made a difference in saving this person's life. We don't always get to see that. We see a lot of the negative, the bad, and the death side of things, but this was a very positive experience where it was a positive outcome based on everyone's skills of that day. So thank you.
So if we could have Officers Dannison and Grant come on up, along with Engineer Matthew Lichtenstein and Captain Aaron Vandervoort and Engineer Skylar Hill. I'm proud of you guys. Good job, man. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good job, man. I'm proud of you guys.
Aaron?
Proud of you, buddy. Good job.
So close. Phone line.
I got a real funny story real quick about Aaron and Matthew. As I pronounced their names, Lichtenstein and Vandervoort, we were trying to figure out how they were going to fit the names on the plaque, and we all had a bet going whether they were going to fit or not. Luckily, we kind of, made the font a little bit smaller to get the names across there, but it worked out well.
We thought Samuel was hard.
Yeah, we thought Samuel was hard, so, But again, truly their efforts are remarkable for what they did. They went above and beyond, and, they brought somebody back, and they get to live and breathe another day just because of their efforts. So please give them a hand.
Good job. Police and fire, superheroes. Good job. Good job.
It's right in the middle.
So our next life-saving award for the police department goes to Officer Herb Culver. Another thing about Herb, he's also the department's 2018 Officer of the Year, and it was just recognized by the Marysville Exchange Club just a couple weeks ago. And in reviewing this life-saving award, several months ago, our agency was approached by Yuba County Public Health in reference to Narcan or naloxone for the opiate overdose epidemic that's in the surrounding areas in the state and nationally. And so they're giving out naloxone for free to the public, so to try to reduce the amount of overdoses. Our agency was the first law enforcement agency in the area to get trained with it and deploy it in the field. So each officer is issued their own little green high visibility bag that's got 2 doses of naloxone in it. So in the event that we go to an overdose and we arrive on scene, we suspect it's an overdose, we can apply the nasal spray naloxone. If they're having an opioid overdose, it will bring them out of it and bring them back. If they're not having an overdose, there's no side effects and there's no harm, no foul if we administer the naloxone. So on January 24th of this year, Officer Culver responded to the local hotel of America's Best Value Inn, located on 10th Street. And there was a subject that they felt that was having an overdose and that was unresponsive. They identified that quickly and rapidly. Officer Culver went and got his naloxone bag. The subject was still unresponsive at that point in time, and based on those factors, deployed the naloxone nasal spray and brought that individual back and out of it. So had a fire personnel also arrived on scene, and medics to assist and get that gentleman transported to the hospital. But if it's not for those efforts in the beginning, those first split seconds of people thinking about those life-saving efforts and those things up front, to be able to make a quick reaction and, go back to their vehicle and be able to use these tools that were given to us to deploy, that person might not be with us today. So I'm truly honored again to be able to recognize Officer Culver for his life-saving efforts and thinking quickly, swiftly, and deploying this and having a successful outcome. And would you like to come up, Herb? So again, I congratulate you. I'm proud of you for your deployment of it and representing the department in that fashion. And it just goes to show what caliber of people that we have working not only for the police department but for the fire department and our city public works. It's just truly a well-oiled machine, and they all put themselves before everybody else when they're out there. So I just greatly appreciate all of them. So thank you again, Herb. Congratulations.
Good job. Good job.
You can have the timer if you want to.
Yeah, first responders, fire, police.
Gee whiz, what happened to everybody?
Okay, let's move to item 7. Item 7 is Community Consent Calendar Forum. We ask individuals wishing to address the City Council concerning consent calendar items or on matters not already yet on the agenda. We invite you to make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. When you're called, we ask you to please go to the podium, give your name clearly for audio recording, and you are requested to address your comments to the council and not to the audience. By state law, we want to let you know that the council is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. If you like a response from the council, we ask you to please fill out a speaker's card and you will be contacted within the next few days. Members of the public?
Hello, my name is Tony Farley, Freedom City. I got a proclamation for Adopt the Park program through the City of Marysville through Public Works and Park Recreation. The Adopt the Park program is designed for cleaning the parks up, keep the parks safe, and clean our cities, keep our city parks clean. It's a good program for anybody who want to volunteer, help the city out. If there's no Public Works people available to clean the park up. The Park program is a volunteer program. It's not paid. It's all volunteer. And it's a good program. Every city got one for your department. I think Marysville should start their own, pretty much.
Thank you, sir. Make sure you fill out a speaker's card so we can get a hold of you.
Okay?
Thank you, sir. You can do it on in your area if you like.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Chris Pedigo, 103.5 C Street. I rise before you tonight as the representative of the city for the Arts Council, and the state of art is good in Yuba Sutter. Our finances are in good order. Our grant programs are working great. Many of you enjoy the boxes, the utility boxes that are around the community. We have murals in both Yuba and Sutter County, and this is my report that I will come once a month and give. We have completed all the surveys for a cultural plan. We will have public meetings on that in the month of March. So on Saturday, March 23rd at the Arts Council from 10 to noon, and on the 25th from 5:30 to 7:30. And those will be open to the public, and we will have a cultural plan that will be coming out in early next spring. So that's my report. I appreciate the ability to still serve on the Yuba Sutter Arts Council at your pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Where is the March 23rd meeting? At the Arts Council?
It's going to be at Yuba Sutter Arts.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
also, thanks to you guys' work on the pianos.
Yes, the pianos are greatly enjoyed in both cities.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Viking Woodwork in our city and Justin's Kitchen in Yuba City. They're very popular. I encourage you to come and look at them. Thank you.
Or play them, if you can play. Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public?
Yeah, just real quick. Hi, my name is Wyatt Ellis. I know you guys were looking for ways to be more like green and efficient. There's like a growing method where we're not really taught this much nowadays, but like in nature, you know, you're not having to water stuff constantly, but it rains once in a while. But the leaf ground cover kind of thing, it acts like almost like a blanket. It absorbs the water, and then over time, it kind of plants it. Actually, it's a lot more efficient than having to just constantly water it. You can water it on a less frequent basis, and just kind of the way God designed it, nature designed it basically. Anyway, if that makes sense, the water will just kind of work through the leaves. It's a lot more efficient. Just one thing that could potentially save you guys a good amount of money on the parks. So, and I can give you some information if you want to get a hold of me on that. So,
Please feel free to fill out one of the contact cards. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. Seeing none, let's move to... Let's move to item 8. Item 8 are matters on the consent agenda, 8 through F. All matters on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and are therefore approved by one motion unless any of the member of the council or city manager first requests that a matter be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion. What's the will of the council?
I move to approve the consent.
Second.
There's a motion and second for Mr. Simmons, second by Mr. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Ordinance number 1412, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Marysville, California, amending Section 18.67.030 of Chapter 18.67 of the Marysville Municipal Code, requiring a development agreement prior to the establishment of any commercial cannabis activity that is not subject to the provisions set forth in Chapter 5.12 Cannabis Business Tax. Ordinance number 1413, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Marysville, California, amending portions of Chapter 10.90 of the Marysville Municipal Code entitled Penalties.
Thank you. Let's move to item 9A. This is item A, a request coming from me, humbly asking the council to allow me to attend the Capital to Capital annual program and tour of Maryland. As mentioned in the memo, this is happening on May 3rd through the 8th. The Cap to CAC program, as described and some of the information provided, is a representation of the Sacramento area. Both business owners and elected officials will be attending, making this trip. It's an annual event on the 49th time that this has happened. It's an opportunity to connect not only with the local regional business owners, but also make connections with the departments of, at the federal level and meet some of the congressional representatives out there. For me, it's been something that I think is important for us in Marysville, have some representation. All our, partners, Yuba City, county, Sutter counties, they've been sending representation for a long time. Last year, I asked, and again, the council felt that maybe it wasn't the best time, and so I appreciate, that was fine with me. This year, I took the initiative to ask SACOG to maybe pay for some of the costs, and they agreed to pay for 50% of the costs associated with it. And we also funded line item that is still some dollars in there for council training, and so I'd like to use some of those dollars to pay for the rest of it. And that's the item. Any discussions or questions?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
I think it's well served. It's time for us to get seat at the table. So go out and do good things and bring it home.
And I'd like to comment as well. I think what a great opportunity. When we're serving in these positions, there's opportunities that come to us that don't come to us at other times in our lives. And so I think we should take advantage of whatever opportunities we can. And so I'm glad that you're going to get to go this year.
Thank you.
Question, comment, not that I'm opposed to it one way, I'm just kind of curious. He said SACOG can pay 50%. What is the city share?
I think the memo says not to exceed $3,000. We have $7,000 left in our travel, so there'll be $4,000 left there for other council trips if needed.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any comments from the public?
Chris Pettigo, 103 and a half C Street. Last year, it was a different situation. This year, I rise in support of the mayor going to cap. As many of you know, training and educational events like this and connecting with elected officials, they brought us solar. It was a project I brought home with the cooperation of my colleagues, former colleagues. And so I think you should very much consider allowing the mayor to go on this trip. I think he could bring the money home, and I think he is geared toward transportation, and I know he can do the job, so I would appreciate you supporting him. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll sustain from the vote, 4-0. Thank you, guys. Let's move to item 9C. 9C comes from our Chief of Police, Mr. Sachs, ordinance number 1415, introducing on first reading an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Marysville, California, repealing 8.13-.010 violations and penalties and amending 812-410 violations of the Marysville Municipal Code. Sir? Was that yours?
I think we skipped one.
It's B.
I think we're on B.
B.
I got excited. Sorry about that. Let's just do C. Can we do C?
Yeah, let me skip to C.
All right, thank you.
That's a horrible one to get excited over.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, this evening before you is to approve the motion introducing ordinance 1415 for first reading, set March 19th for second reading and consideration for adoption. The recommended changes to this ordinance will ensure consistency within the municipal code and conform to the penalties already established within the Yuba County courts. In reviewing our ordinances, which we often do that pertain to the police department and enforcement side, this one specifically has to do with animal care services. And in reviewing that ordinance, there was two different fine amounts that were listed. So 8.12 had one fine criteria that listed a first, second, and third offense and a certain dollar amount, and then 8.13 had a secondary dollar amount, which is the approved amount as specified in the modification of this code. So we wanted to make it more consistent, so it's not two different fine amounts in the code, and we wanted to conform to what the court system has as regulatory fines within the court system as well, and that's the reason for this modification. Additionally, one other addition would be to add 812.410, as you see per D, that some of the infractions would be deemed as correctable violations, and those correctable violations may be cleared at a reduced rate as outlined in the Marysville fee schedule that would be adopted. So, as an example, if somebody got a citation for not having their dog licensed, or if they were off of a leash, that fine penalty is $150 to the courts. However, if they brought in a leash or they got their animal licensed and registered, that citation could be corrected through us at the city, and that fine amount would be reduced to a $25 fee, so they're not penalized as much at the court. So we're kind of giving them an opportunity, kind of like a fix-it ticket like we do for vehicles. We're going to apply the same method to animal care services, so that way we can better serve the citizens. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions? Yes, sir.
If I understand right, doing it this way, that fine will stay within the city, rather than if they go to court, pay that larger fine. Do we end up with any of that?
Correct. So on the revenue side, yes. On the $25 correctable violation, those funds would go to the city. So they would take care of their dog license, which we would require them to do, and then that $25 correctable fee would be additional revenue for the city, correct? If they happen to not correct it within a certain amount of period of time, they would be referred to the courts. They would have to pay the court fine, and then there's a certain disbursement and percentages to the courts that get dispersed out for every citation. So I don't know what that amount is though on those.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Seeing no questions, I'd like to open up for public comment. We have to wait for the clerk to waive the first reading.
No, I'm just learning on the job how to rate it, to waive it for her, on her behalf, actually.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance 1415.
Motion.
Motion and second by Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Read it?
Yeah.
That the council's adopted ordinance number 1415, amending portions of chapter 812 of the Marysville Municipal Code entitled Violations and repealing chapter 812 entitled Violations and Penalties.
Thank you. Now I'd like to entertain a motion to set for second reading on March 19th and consider for adoption.
So, second.
Motion by Vice Mayor,
Discussion.
second by Buttercliff. Oh, yes.
Are we repealing chapter 8.13, not 8.12?
Yes.
So that needs to be corrected, because I thought I heard 8.2 was being repealed.
That's a typo.
On the agenda, it says 8.13.
Yeah.
For the record. For the record, ordinance number 1415, amending portions of chapter 812 of the Marysville Municipal Code entitled Violations and repealing chapter 813 entitled Violations and Penalties have been adopted by the council.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
Thank you. Motion and second to move for second reading and consider for adoption. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved with the vote of 5-0. I feel lost with that. Persephone.
Gotta go B.
I know, I got it.
Sorry, I'm failing as a city clerk.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Apologize.
You're doing good.
Let's
Don't
move
make it a
to
habit.
item 9B. Ordinance number 1414. This is also an introduction for first reading. This ordinance of the City Council of the City of Marysville will repeal and reenacting Chapter 5.48 of the Marysville Municipal Code entitled Massage Establishment and Massage Therapist. This also comes from our Chief of Police, Mr. Sachs. Sir?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, before you this evening is a motion to introduce the ordinance 1414 for first reading, set March 19th for a second reading and consideration for adoption. And this recommendation, these recommended changes will bring greater consistency in our licensing and oversight of massage therapists within the city of Marysville, as they will now be regulated by one state authorized agency, which is, we call it CAMTAC, and it's the California Massage Therapy Council. And to further go into it, you know, the city's existing ordinance, in reviewing it, is out of date compared to other agencies. Last year, when I went to the California Police Chiefs Conference, I met with folks from CAMTAC, and they were getting a firm hold on all the new policies and procedures at the state level as far as regulating massage establishments and therapists throughout the entire state. So in coordinating with them for the last 10 months, there's been several cities. San Mateo was a landmark city that first adopted a robust ordinance that regulated it, and CAMTAC has used that as a boilerplate for a lot of other municipalities, including the city of Yuba City, that has also adopted this same ordinance and this same outline. So it's providing consistency there. Back in 2008, the state adopted the Massage Therapy Act, and CAMTAC started overseeing that. And then in 2014, with the passage of SB 1147, the state updated and amended the Massage Therapy Act and included it in the Business Professions Code. And then again in 2016, the state legislature extended those provisions all the way through January 1 of 2021. And our old ordinance had practitioners, trainees. Some of them only needed 50 hours or at least 50 hours. Some of them needed, you know, no less than 100 hours before they could start doing massage therapy. And there was a list of like 9 other criteria that we required as a city in order to license those folks. And then there was a separate criteria. If you had a state license, we couldn't regulate them on that side. We would just issue them a regular permit, and we wouldn't have to do anything with those. That became troublesome on our part because some people were requiring certain things if they don't have as much training as the other folks do on the state side. So to provide more consistency, we're introducing this, we're wanting to repeal our previous massage ordinance, adopt and approve this new massage ordinance that conforms to all the new state guidelines and that we see a lot of the other local jurisdictions going to help regulate that. There's a lot of definitions in this new ordinance that have to do with if you're a chiropractor, a nurse, doing any physical therapy, all that type of stuff that wasn't really clearly outlined in our last municipal code or the current municipal code before this one. And additionally, it provides that consistency for the massage therapist on that side. So the difference here would be the state's going to regulate and license the massage therapist, and the city is going to regulate and license the business. So we will oversee the massage business establishment, and we will leave the certifications for all the massage therapy stuff up to the state folks. They'll get their state license, they'll come and see us. And when they come and see us, we will verify they have a state license. We will issue them a city permit for a massage therapist, and then we will regulate that through wherever their business is currently located. Some of the other cities had provisions in there and exemptions for massage therapists that were currently practicing massage therapy that were in the old guidelines with the, no more than or no less than 50 hours and at least 100 hours and these other provisions. So they grandfathered them in. However, that's not the case here this evening. We do not currently have anybody that fits into that criteria at this point in time. All of our massage establishments within the city of Marysville, all their massage therapists hold a CAMTAC state certified license that are currently, that we're aware of, that are legitimate businesses. And you just saw not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, the one that we raided downtown on E Street, and they were also state licensed. So we have an appeal hearing coming up next week on that one. And to report out on that, CAMTAC has already been in contact with us. We will send our findings to them, and then they will impose a state sanction on those licenses for a period of 3 years where they won't be able to practice. So they have a little bit more teeth in the game than we do as well when it comes to the state licensing. So I think this is better for our staff to be able to regulate, not only at the police department, but at the city staff level, and it provides consistency and clear outlines for them on what they need to do and how they're going to be held accountable when they have an establishment in the city. So with that, I will open it up for any questions that you might have.
Thank you. We have questions? Yes, sir.
Chief, I'm wondering, obviously, we have very reputable businesses and we have very questionable businesses. What's kind of the criteria that gets them into business? And the reason I ask is because a number of very reputable ones have made comments of how difficult it was, and yet it looks like we've got, this is an assumption, that we have quite a few that aren't as reputable that tend to make it in fairly easy. So the question actually is what's the other criteria that you have been looking at, obviously above and beyond just the license?
Well, so it's just the licensing. So you have the state license that they can go get with, they meet a certain criteria for the number of hours and they get a state license. And under the new regulations, if they walk in to the city with a state license, we can't fingerprint them. We don't do any background check. They just walk in with a state license and they are good to go in the state's eyes, and they can open up their massage establishment business.
That's how it currently is, or that's how it will be?
That's how it currently and will be.
As long as they can supply you with the proper credentials?
Correct, with a state license. Now, the other provisions that are in the current code, not this new one up for adoption, there's a whole list of like 10 criteria, and I mean, I can list them off for you, but there's like 10 different subsections that have to do with, if you're a trainee, you have to have at least 50 hours, you have to supply a diploma that you're currently enrolled, you have to supply, a background check, there's a fee for a live scan, there's a fee for your license, and there's like 5 other things that the city required under that side. So the state licensing is a little bit, I don't want to say it's harder to get, it's just more comprehensive, and they have to do more hours in the field in order to get the state license, and they're regulated by the state, and the state keeps track of them, versus our standards were a little bit lower, but they needed more things that they had to provide us in order for us to try to have as much regulation on those ones as we could, and then we're constantly trying to update and make sure that, and do inspections to see if, they're following up with all those different things. So for us, it would be easier if we had one licensing entity, all the same rules. They walk in the door with a state license. We already know that they're certified in the state and they're good and they're reputable in our eyes until we get any reports of any nefarious activity. We would license them with our own permit as well here to be able to open up that business. And then if they are caught doing anything that is against the law, like this last one, we will have a hearing and be able to pull our city permit from them and then not allow them to be able to practice and maintain and open that business. And then additionally, we would file that with CAMTAC, and CAMTAC would take a state sanction or penalty on them for their state licensing itself. So we'll end up regulating the business side of it, and they'll regulate the licensing side of it. Now we're doing both and under 2 different criteria. So gotcha. It's just easier, and it's just easier. Looking at the new ways that they've adopted their procedures.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
A comment, if I might.
Yes.
I'm looking at paragraph section 5.48.060, and it kind of jumps into no massage business shall operate a school of massage or use the same facility as a school. Now, you were talking about trainees. Are those employee trainees, or are they, how does that work? Because that could be construed as having, how would you interpret that, I guess is my point.
Which section are you looking at? I'm sorry.
It's section 5.48.060, operating requirements. It's paragraph K.
What letter? I'm sorry. A?
K.
Okay.
As in kiss.
I thought you said A. My apologies. I'm losing my hearing.
And the reason I ask that, Chief, if I have a massage parlor and I have a trainee and I send it over to you for you to train it and you charge me for it, is that conducting a business?
So the way they do it is they regulate the massage schools as well. So if we had a massage establishment, say the one on E Street, we would not allow them to train other masseuses in their facility. It has to be a licensed school of massage in order for them to be able to certify in there. So we would have a business that would be open and they would train them. They have one over in Yuba City that's the same way.
So you can only train your employees, whether they be paid employees or training employees or whatever. Is that correct? I see some ambiguity here, and that's why I'm asking.
No,
You interpreted it, but I'm not sure that.
I think
that-
you're
No, they wouldn't be able to train their employees. Their employees are going to come to them already trained with the state certificate. So the school itself, the way it's saying is that if I had a massage business here in town for massage therapy, my employees are all going to be state certified through CAMTAC to be there. Somebody wouldn't be coming into me and me training them in order to go get their state license. They would have to be state licensed in order to come to work for me. The School of Massage, there's a certain criteria for them to get their license, and that's what they're saying is you can't train your own employees. You'd have to go to a School of Massage in order to be able to be within those guidelines.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or clarifications? Any comments from the public?
First of all, I want to say I'm very happy to see that you guys are addressing this situation. But my question is this. I have a massage therapist that we are trying to hire right now who is licensed in Yuba City, who at one time was licensed in Marysville, but that license expired because she was no longer working here. Now she would like to work here again. And when she approached the people to get the license, they said, sorry, we can't grandfather you in, even though you did have a license with us at one time. She went back to CMTC to get the card because she can't find her certification card. They have no record of her even ever going to school. The school that she went to is no longer in business. So this is a challenge that we're running into. And it's my understanding from talking to other massage therapists that the CMTC is the governing body, but they really need to get their act together. People are sending in requests to get their certifications, I don't know what the word is, and 6 months later they still don't have them. So I know they're probably the only governing body that we have, but I think we really need to look at how well they're doing their job.
Thank you for that. I mean, if there's, I don't know what your relationship is with them, but if we can somehow send a letter like of support with your concerns, I mean, I can see us maybe looking at something like that. Just sharing your concerns, you know, as one of our business owners.
I can most definitely pass on those concerns this week. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm headed to Santa Clara to the California Police Chiefs Conference, and CAMTAC is the sponsor for the event. We are supposed to be meeting up with CAMTAC representatives, Beverly May, who does a lot of the regulatory stuff for CAMTAC, and we do have a meeting with her this week. So we can definitely express the concerns about the, request for licensing or inadequate.
Their records.
That there is some concerns as far as the records and how long it's taking them, and I can express those to them, why I'm there and make that push, and see where they're at and report back. I know both of them very well, and I can come down and see them.
You done the float?
I have not done the float, but.
Me neither, so don't feel bad. I feel they always look at me. And
But they're still holding my breast cancer awareness wreath hostage down there. So, and it's past October, so maybe I'll get it this October. But yes, I know them very well, so I can follow up with CAMTAC this week on those concerns, and then also follow up with them.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion, or a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1414. Motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved, the vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 1414, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Marysville, repealing and reenacting Chapter 5.48 of the Marysville Municipal Code regarding massage establishments and massage therapists.
Thank you, and I'd like to entertain a motion to set March 19, 2019 for second reading and consideration for adoption.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Hudson, second by Ms. McKenzie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. Are you heading now to San Jose?
I've got to go spend a few hours with my kids before I leave for a week, so.
Thank you, Chief.
Boy, somebody's got to do it, right?
Yes.
He deserves it. You betcha.
So we did B and C. Let's go to item D. Resolution requesting federal and state relief for the city of Marysville from the adverse impacts of the campfire aftermath. Recommendations to adopt Resolution 2019-10. This resolution, City Council of the City of Marysville, requesting federal and state relief for the city of Marysville from adverse impacts of the campfire aftermath. This recommendation comes from our city manager, Ms. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you are all aware, we have several trucks now that are going through per day through the city of Marysville. It's been, I think, just a little over a week now since we first learned that the trucks for the debris removal from the Paradise tragedy and the campfire that happened back in November would start removal this past week. The city did not really get any warning until after the removal actually began, and we started asking questions and contacting the California OES, Office of Emergency Services, and then shortly after that we were invited to a meeting hosted by Yuba County with Cal Recycle, who is leading the effort in terms of the debris removal, and Cal OES hosted a joint multi-jurisdictional meeting to give us an overview of the plan, the traffic route, and what would be occurring. As I mentioned, that invitation came after the truck route was decided and the trucks were actually already going through the city of Marysville. After realizing fairly quickly, I think that there was a strong interest on the part of the council and a concern with the trucks that were coming through the city. Many of them are not staying on the truck route. They are going off on B Street in particular, but other streets through Chinatown and other areas of the city. They're also resting, the truck drivers are resting on city-side streets near hotels and waiting for Ostrom Road landfill, which is where most of them are headed. Well, they're all headed if they're going through Marysville, and waiting for the Ostrom Road landfill to open up in the morning. So just to cut to the chase, the plan is 600 to 800 trucks per day coming through the city of Marysville, round trips, truckloads with debris from the Paradise tragedy, and much of it will have what's called TACs in here, toxic air contaminants, and that will be going on for approximately 10 to 12 months. So the city does not currently, the Yuba County has not been included in the efforts, and the California Office of Emergency Services relief, exactly, like Butte County is getting. And so, the city of Marysville, for those of you who don't know, we're really, with our limited resources, really, I think, made a Herculean effort to support the Paradise campfire tragedy immediately, like the day that the fire broke loose. We had, over the course of a couple weeks, we had 8 to 10 officers up there around the clock. Fire chief was also up there for about a total of 7 days as part of the CAL FIRE emergency management team for this outbreak, which, as you know, or might not know, we only have 7 firefighters in addition to the fire chief at this time. So having your fire chief away for a week is, quite a bit of a strain on our resources. So I think we feel really strongly that we gave some really solid support to that tragedy, and our hearts definitely go out to Paradise. And now, as part of this effort, I just wanted to make a recommendation to the council that we seek some relief, financial relief, in terms of being able to deal with the air quality that we will be dealing with over the next year, as well as obviously an enormous impact to our roads, which, I could read the whole resolution to you. I don't know if you want me to bother doing that this time, but I think you've all seen it. There's quite a bit of information about our current situation in the city and the potential impact to the city over the next 10 to 12 months with this trucking debris removal effort. So that concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Can you just add what the resolve is, some of the things that we want to do?
Oh, sure, certainly. So, the crux of the resolution and the request is to ask Congressman Garamendi to work with Congress to direct additional funds to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and to assist communities like Marysville and Yuba County, as well as asking Governor Gavin Newsom to direct the California Office of Emergency Services to develop a relief program for the city of Marysville and other communities, both in Yuba Sutter County in particular, that are helping with this debris removal effort.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I have one through the chair. I heard about this, well, about the same time you did, and I talked to Recology about it because I was curious if it's going to go through our sorting station off of Highway 70, and I was informed that that's not the case. However, the trucks will be lined in the bottom with a pad, a rubber pad, and they'll be lined on top with a rubber pad. There should not be any impact for air quality of ashes blowing off of it. However, I think what we put in here, air quality and quality of life, this resolution, that does give the police department or the police officers the opportunity to monitor that, as well as the state code says that nothing can fall off the truck anyway, whether it be except rain. So that was a very good catch on the city manager's point, because if they don't put those pads in there, those covers, it will blow. And so if we see a little dust storm behind it, then the police officer, and in our resolution, in the state highway law, they can't drop it off there anyway. Good catch, Mark.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I want to first agree that we got the raw end of the deal on this. My question is there going to, do you think, Marty, there'll be a way that we're going to have a measurement to justify the impact? How are we going to be able to present to them, and the impact? I mean, we know it's going to be a mess, traffic-wise, but a measurement or a way to justify it?
Yes, in fact, when we did speak at that multi-jurisdictional meeting where we got more information, well, there was no guarantee. We were advised to document as much as possible. And we are getting, I don't know if they're already implemented. Jim, can you share the camera?
GPS?
The camera?
We're working on that side of
Okay,
things.
so one of the documentation efforts that they recommended to us was putting basically a camera on the front of our public works trucks and going down our roads, currently right now at this very beginning of this process, especially the roads where we're already seeing that they're using a lot of the side streets, and documenting that, and then doing it again after this whole effort ends. And then, of course, there's documentation just through the citations. Certainly, we have all that, and we can demonstrate.
But that's only going to be if they get off the highway, right?
That's correct.
Or I understand.
If they get off
too,
the state highway, that is true.
or if they're blocking intersections. I think I understood that from the chief. That
They could be ticketed
If they're
for-
blocking intersections, they can write them up for that, too.
They can be just like a regular car user. I mean, we are definitely being pretty vigilant about monitoring it, because we recognize that if we aren't over the next 10 to 12 months, it'll probably just go completely berserk in terms of going off on all sorts of side streets if we're not staying on it all the time, because there are so many trucks a day, and so we really do have to monitor. But I think one thing I would also just add that came out of that meeting was basically, and Jim, feel free to help me out, but Cal OES basically said that because this is an emergency, they don't have to follow CEQA, so they don't have to follow any of the environmental rules or laws like you would normally expect of a regular project in the state of California, which I think for us also is concerning, because if you're getting sort of this blank check, an exemption on having impact to air quality and those kinds of things, like you were just mentioning, Councilmember Simmons, you know, that could also turn into a problem over a 10 to 12-month project to you know, make sure that, that we have some path in terms of being made whole at the end of this when they're getting, you know, an exemption on CEQA. It's going to be tricky, I guess, is all I can tell you. It's something.
Question on, when you were at this event or meeting that you were with, how did Chico or Oroville even have an input? How were they impacted? Did they, I mean, the highways don't even go through them.
Well, my understanding from the presenter was that the prior week, they had reached out and gone over the traffic route with Oroville and Chico, and so what was suggested was, you know.
We didn't get that invitation.
We didn't get that invitation, but it was also suggested, they didn't get much more warning either. Sorry.
They got
was
some.
kind of it, you know, was kind of what we got, yeah, so, like, don't feel too bad, I guess, is how I would interpret what we got back. It was a very dissatisfying meeting, to be honest with you, and I think, a lot of people were keeping their cool better than I was, but there was two of us that were pretty upset about it. The other person who was really voiced a strong opinion and concern was from the Feather River Air Quality District.
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown was there and was really an advocate in support of Marysville and concerned about being a disadvantaged community and our air quality, all of those things which are mentioned in the resolution. So that was really positive additional support.
Last question. Was there any talk at all about adjusting the time schedule of their travel? I mean, I know I heard when the landfill is supposed to be open, but it seems like there could have been some accommodations, so they're not traveling through at our. So again, my question is, was there any discussion, or could that even be brought up?
Yeah, there was, and in their PowerPoint presentation, they did address not having as many trucks go through during, you know, sort of peak commuter hours, and trying to manage it in a way that the more trucks would be during sort of the off-peak commuter hours. I don't know, Jim, do you remember anything specifically?
My recollection on the nighttime, if you want to go down that path, is because of the type of byproduct, it was not cost efficient for them to do nighttime because they had to ensure that the integrity of the rubber matting was not displaced. They would have to bring in heavy-duty lights to monitor that, plus they'd have to pay the crews a different prevailing wage going down that path.
It's not conducive to them, but it's not conducive to us either.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Two questions, actually one statement. The reason that Oroville's involved, I mean Chico's involved with that, there's only 2 landfills in Northern California that can accept this material. The Austin Road and the Chico, so that's how Chico got involved in it. Also, I think we would have to look at probably putting weight limitations on these roads that, off the truck route. And I don't know if these trucks are being weighed when they load them, do you know? Are they coming in, meeting the load requirements? You know, we do have a truck route through Marysville, and there's a load limitations on that, I would think.
My understanding from the police chief actually was that they were going on scales.
Okay.
So they, I believe they are being weighed because I think part of the compensation is based on their weight, so they'd have to be at least on the way to the landfill. I don't think they're being weighed on the way back, but, you know, just on the way down.
Well, they weigh them going across and coming across, and I pay the difference. But I would like to think we consider about taking these roads that are not on the truck route, and marking those as weight limitation roads. There shouldn't be that many off of Highway 70 by the high school and around that. I see them going that way.
Yep.
Ramirez.
Yeah, they're,
Down Ramirez. But
Give us
they're going down Ramirez instead of going down Yuba Street. And Yuba Street is a truck route that goes into 14th over to East Street.
How long would it take to get some signage out there to just route? I mean, I don't know what our current truck route signage is.
we are working on that, Jim, right? You and the chief of police were talking about getting signs out related to the truck routes?
Yes, we
Yesterday?
have a plan to install signage. We actually already installed signage on B Street that said it was not a designated truck route. The challenge that we have is, I think the full exposure of signage would we would want to deploy that out on the mainline highway, but we don't have rights to put the signage on the Caltrans facility. So I think Mr. Simmons' idea of maybe more signage as it relates to weight could be something we could explore, just to give us a little additional layer of fine and penalty to ensure that we can, not have a loophole that they could find a way to fall through when they get in front of a judge. So we
We'll
can
have
look
to
into
buy
that.
scales for our guys to weigh them.
Well, they're getting paid by weight, so they know the weight.
We, I know we have our, obviously the highway is a truck route. Even though we have designated truck routes, can we shut those down?
No, I don't think we can.
I mean, the city designated ones, not the ones on the highway,
Yeah.
but our city designated ones.
Wish the chief was here. I think through the Streets and Highway Code, I believe we have to keep a designated truck route.
Yeah.
So they got filling stations too, as you well know, that's where they service them on East Street. They come down 14.
But the thing to keep in mind is that they have isolated this incident, the whole debris removal effort, to a set truck route. And so we have every right, and frankly, they really encouraged us to enforce as much as possible, whether they're on city roads and they're taking a nap before they go to Ostrom Road, or they're trying to bypass. And so we're using the maximum in terms of a citation ticket of $250 a ticket to enforce that. And I'm honestly, I'm not sure we can do much more than that, because they've already made a truck route that's a state highway, but they're not following it, right? So-
Right, okay.
Well, there's a couple areas
That
where
has
it's
been
our city
designated.
streets.
I mean, they've been told that was
Oh,
designated
yeah.
to stay on those highways, so we can get them anytime they get off.
Right.
But
and
there
we
there are a couple streets, my biggest issue here is, one, maybe it's not the couple streets on the way back from Simpson into Ramirez and into the state highway, the way they had designated. They have three separate routes, one going around into 20, one coming through us, and one going through Yuba City, and then going around into, towards Wheatland. Those roads back there, they kind of back up through 99 and they kind of go around to the dump. But my thing, even if we have 600 to 800 new trips coming through our city roads, that's gonna put a lot of our residents and people who come to do work here, they're gonna push them out to our other streets. So my biggest issue is not necessarily that we get a couple going through B Street or First Street. My biggest issue is how is that gonna affect our congestion, and it's gonna move people away to other side roads, and it's gonna put more pressure on our roads and put, and so there's a cost. So my hope is that, staff not only will film, those obvious roads, but also look at some other, roads like 14th Street or some other roads where a lot of our, regular cars will end up going. 8th Street over there by railroad track, I mean, that thing's already dust. And people will continue using that. First Street's, it's dust. And now we're gonna have more trucks going through, or even more cars. That's a 10 to 12 month process. That's gonna put a lot of pressure on our system. So I hope that, I know it's gonna be extra work for us, but we wanna make sure that we get that also covered in our costs when we send them a bill.
I'm curious I know First Street is it's on the top of the list for our repairs, right? Is that gonna, wasn't it on your designated list?
I don't
thought.
think it's
No.
not this year.
First Street is not on the
It's
top
not,
five.
okay. I was gonna say, because if we're gonna do the repairs and then have all the traffic, so, okay, I thought it was.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I think the logic was when we did that was get the streets that we could repair with minimum costs that are almost. they're
Get
still
more
certain-
streets for the bank.
No, I know, I thought it was
But
involved
B
in
Street,
that.
First Street needs to have something done to it. It's just that,
Well,
we're
Fifth
gonna be
Street,
buying a lot of rims, I'll tell you that.
I have a question. Where is our designated truck route? Do you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's Ramirez. I think when they're, I don't know.
Let Chris go. He
Chris
knows that
should not
stuff.
He
gone.
knows it, okay.
But we can get that information from
Yes,
staff, right?
I
And
will
make that
get
public?
Yes.
It's around the underpassing, the railroad track underpassing, Ramirez to Yuba.
To go around in case there's a issue there.
14-foot 3-high railroad track on B Street right there. That's the designated truck route, but bypasses that.
I will get that and send it out to the council.
Yeah, Right there at the signal, make a left, make right from Yuba
But
Street, go down.
remind mind that this is just the beginning of our noise making. I want to just let you know that we're going to make a lot more noise. We'll definitely be loud out there, and my job is also to be loud with the congressman and with Gallagher and Nielsen, make sure that they have our backs on this thing. I made calls to all those folks to make sure that they understand that at the end of 10 months, we're going to have, we're going to have already the wear and tear that we have with the 30,000 cars that go through our city on a daily basis, whatever that may be, the number that goes through on a daily basis. And that's just from one bridge to another. We have tons of congestion, as we know, especially during the peak time. And now we're gonna add from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. an additional 600 or 800 trips to go through our city, heavy trips. And that's gonna push a lot of our folks out to our system. So I think we wanna make sure we're pretty loud on this situation. So this is a start for us, in my mind.
I think there's any salvation, these are not trailers. They're single-body trucks. I saw 2 of them today going.
But they're heavy, don't you think?
I didn't see any trailers.
Just comment to keep in mind if anybody is seeing trucks and aren't recognizing what they are. Other semis are allowed to come off of the truck routes if they're making deliveries. For instance, we get them all the time.
Right.
Union Lumber gets the grocery stores. So those are a different, in case anybody's wondering, it's a different type of truck that we're concerned about.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, your point about preventing more cars and trucks that are just regular doing their business from diverting off to side streets because they're, frustrated with being in heavy traffic. Would the council, if the council, at your pleasure, if you're going to approve the resolution, add a friendly amendment, a whereas about that? Because I actually did not, I'm pretty sure there isn't just a simple sentence like that that points that out.
You kind of put it on, whereas the city's current average pavement condition index is of 55, city streets are considered a risk at 50. That's an average of the entire city. So, if we were to measure that average afterwards, for a pavement, but that's the only, but maybe we can add something on the pressure.
If you want me to just say something, that the other concern is, in addition to trucks on side streets, is regular business is going off because of the trucks onto side streets.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to comment to that. I think that's an excellent idea that we get it down. I think that was a great catch on your part. But I think to make that really specific, because that is where we're gonna get the extra traffic most likely.
Yeah.
Even more, because once we citation them, they're already, we know, are on their CBs and telling each other, don't do that anymore. But normal cars are probably going off.
And right now, they're not at their max. My understanding is they're gonna move right now from 60 crews in Paradise to 150 crews. That's more than double the number of crews. And that means they're gonna be able to unload more trucks. And those folks make money off being able to deliver on time. And they're gonna open the dump half an hour earlier, so they're gonna start at 6:30 instead of 7 a.m. to allow more trucks. So it's gonna be pretty interesting the next 10, 12 months.
And the citizens could help us too. They see these trucks going down those side streets, they can call service public,
Well, I know our First Street eyes over there.
Steve will take care of it.
All right, Stuart.
Any other comments or questions from the council? I'd like to bring up the public if they have any comments on this matter. No? Stuart, you're gonna take pictures? I'll open up to the public if anyone has a point or someone to comment on this item.
Hello, I'm Stuart Gilchrist, a business owner and resident to be 101 First Street, 101 C Street in Marysville, and of course I have an impeccable view of First Street and all day. And so I, first of all, understand that there's no schedule for renovation on First Street. As of today, nothing yet, but
It's in the plan.
It's in the plan.
Yes.
Great, good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent,
Yes.
good to know. Have you ever tried to dust a retail store? Yeah, so I'll be more than happy to take photographs of any trucks. Is it a truck route? It is not, is it?
No.
Perfect, that's all I needed to know.
Only if it's business-related vehicles.
For our immediate area.
Yeah.
Great, we all know each other, we'll know exactly who's expecting what.
Yeah.
Budweiser and Coors trucks.
We love them. Okay, very good. We'll be taking pictures and acting accordingly. Thank you.
So if no other comments from the public, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-10 with the amendment of adding an additional whereas related to the impact to the entire system, not just those routes taken by the trucks.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Barcoboli, second by Mr. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Comment on that resolution, very well done.
Good job, Marty, thank you.
That's very well done.
So I can tell you that I did send a draft to the office of Gary Mendy already, so they are aware, and we're gonna send them a clear letter. And when I'm in DC, I'll make sure I push it again.
Well, that'd be a good thing for our friends at SACOG to come impact on our roads.
Oh, yeah. Item E, resolution approving an easement deed of parcels number 13910, 13911, 1312, 13913 through 13915 to Marysville's levy district. This recommendation is to adopt resolution 2019-11, authorizing the city manager to execute an easement deed of public right-of-way pertaining to those parcels mentioned earlier. This comes from our Community Development Services Director, Mr. Bermudez. Sir?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This particular item is an item in conjunction with our levy team that's been working on the city's ring levy project for several years now. It came to our attention that as they were doing a review of property ownership along the southern banks of the river, that there is a smattering of different rights and property identifications dating back to 1851, the city's actual official cityhood date. And over the due course of time, there's been no representation of any entity that has stepped forward in regards to ownership. And so in that case, the main sponsoring agent, which happens to be the Corps of Engineers, has a pretty firm policy that says when you have conditions of this nature, it's up to the non-federal sponsors to actually step up and figure out how they are going to address that issue of property ownership. The Corps pretty much wants to ensure that as levees are constructed and improved, that there is the ability for the non-sponsored agencies to ensure access rights, construction, and the whole host of items that I detailed in the staff report, that those can be achieved. So in doing the due diligence with our consultant, they have put in place various easements within certain segments of the levee embankment. It's from the embankment, and then it's actually 15 feet off the toe as well, to ensure that Marysville Levee District, when the levees are certified, that we do have the ability for access, construction, maintenance, and repair. And by executing these particular easements gives the Marysville Levee District, would then be the sponsor of controlling our levees, the ability to do the various levee improvements and rehabilitation as needed. So what staff is bringing forward to you is seeking the city to allow the Marysville Levee District to sit within an easement of the city, given that these date back to 1851, and it is the best information we have based on title research that has been done, that these are indeed city-owned properties. So staff, and with the action of the council, would be granting a right of an easement for the necessary improvements and maintenance of these particular areas within the levee system. So at this point, staff is looking for council approval. It is such that if we don't go through this process, then this particular segment of the levee project would then have to, I think, go back, and staff would have to research with Department of Water Resources and the Corps to figure out an alternative solution. But given that the Corps is guiding the process in the project, and they are the main sponsor, they are highly recommending that these easements be approved and accepted by the city. That concludes staff's presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Questions?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Jim, is this on on the water side or the land side? It's on our side.
It's on the land side.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say I'm confused. What are we're granting them just the easement? And that's all of that that's on the map is on the inside. So it's basically all around the bottom of all the levee.
That is
correct? And what I didn't understand was this part where it says that the following may occur, where it says construction, reconstruction, the large fence, plants, trees, blah, 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 blah. How would that entail part of that? That they could do that?
Correct.
They could put fencing up, they could put landscaping up in the easement and everything? Is that what I'm understanding? It's on, it's under your discussion and analysis at the bottom of the page where it says that this will allow actions consisting of the following to occur. I'm just trying to understand why that would be or what that is referring to.
It's paragraph 1 at the bottom of the page of your memo.
Yes, they will have the ability to do that. And it could be for flood improvement purposes, private property, access, so forth, like fencing.
Okay.
I don't know, through the chair, I don't think they'll be planting trees at the toe of a levee, though. They might put bottles along there, but they won't be planting trees.
I think they just want to leave it broad. Is that their language?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, they're engineers that, they're not going to put something that's going to jeopardize the levee, but I think for us is allowing them so then they don't come back and someone else will sue them because it's their property or something, or doesn't let them in or something, so that.
Additionally, it's a two-way street that, with their concurrence, we can go and put fencing and we can put shrubs and do that as well. So it's our property.
I couldn't imagine why they would want it to do that, was the reason I was asking. And then on page 11 of the 23, the property we're giving them or deeding with them, is that erratic from 46 feet wide areas to 9 foot wide areas? It's not a consistent. Wow, okay.
Is that on attachment B, you're saying? On attachment B? Exhibit B?
It's page 11, it's under, it's actually throughout the whole thing, it gives all the measurements.
Oh, okay.
I mean, every measurement in there, that's kind of ridiculous. But there's areas where it gets as much as 234 feet. And then there's areas where it takes they only take as much as 9 feet. And I was just curious how they came along with that. Usually easements are somewhat symmetric following, a road access or something, but.
Yeah, the map, I think what I see, maybe, I don't know if it's the same description you're making, but the map at the end, exhibit B, like on Fifth Street, those alleys, I imagine those are the smaller ones versus the thicker ones by Franklin Square.
Yeah.
So if I may, essentially, when they're doing their title research, as I was mentioning, there are properties that don't come up other than an ownership that they date back to 1851, but then there are current properties where you show the title date as somebody did purchase a segment of property, so they carve that particular piece out, so that's why you're going to get more of a jagged type of property description. When you layer in the meets and bounds within the technical document, this is what you get as part of ownership.
If you remember, through the chair, you remember in Linda, they did a setback levy. In this particular issue, on this particular levy, there's no way to do a setback levy on the city side because there's nothing to set back. But if you go to the bounce back program, there is vegetation in that program to be planted along there for beautification on the city side, not the water side. So you're right, Jim. We need to have that. And I think the levy commission also has some say in this as to what goes on, because the levies belong to them and the Corps. Is that right?
Well, they clean it up, right, or maintain it.
They own them. They're in the court. They're project levies, some of them.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2019-11.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Hudson, second by Mr. Simmons. All those in favor, say aye. 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 Motion is approved with the vote of 5-0. Any committee reports?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Buckwalty and I serve on the GSP committee, GSA committee for the county of Yuba, and we're in the process now of reviewing Section 1 draft of the general plan, sustainability plan. And since Marysville did not have any input on that, it's all about agriculture, et cetera, we took the liberty to go ahead, and the time is really of the essence, because I have to turn this in by the 8th. And we have not had a meeting with the city council to discuss this, so I'm asking you to look at this, and if before, no later than, say, the 7th, Marty, if you have any changes to this, get it back to myself and to Bruce, and we'll incorporate it in this, because we have to mail this off no later than the 8th. These are add-ins. As we went through this draft, there were certain things in there that needed to be changed. If you go to the add as a chapter, it defines the type of government we have. You can take that out, that's no big thing. It says we have a mayor and city council, et cetera, but technically we do have a specific type of government, and it's a weak mayor, strong council with a city manager form of government. If you want to take that out, I have no objection to it whatsoever. They're making difference.
Well, you call me weak for it, but I'm not sure if that's the proper statement.
It is. I looked it up. And also,
I asked him if it was a reflection on you.
That's messed up.
No. And also, phase 1 of my political science degree, that was very well, Chico State was my alma mater. That was very well explained to me. Anyway, if you want that in there, so take it out. You can say that now.
I think we're council city manager.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll just take the weak mayor out to the council city manager.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they're going to accept these changes, see? The consultants have to go through it. Also, insert Marysville is classified as a severely disadvantaged. That's not true any longer. Our population is, median income is $41,000 a year, median, and it was 39 something before, was qualified as being severely disadvantaged. So we're not severely disadvantaged, we're a disadvantaged community.
But sir, is this the best time to provide input
Well, it
on
is, because I
something?
need to get it, because I got to get it off. You guys review it?
Can we review it, come back to
Absolutely.
it?
You don't want to get out of here, I know that.
Thank you.
You don't want to conduct meeting in front of the public, so we'll just.
Call me weak, man.
No,
I'm
no,
still
go
crying
ahead.
right now. Any other,
Just so you know, I believe there's almost 2,000 pages.
Oh, yeah. No, see the numbers along the side?
And Bill
Those
went through 724, I
Yeah, I
believe.
did. I got tired. The numbers along the side.
I guess I'm a little confused on why you're doing staff work and not our staff.
Yeah. Don't ask me that. We've been through that.
Okay.
Don't even talk to me about that, because they don't have the time to do it, and we're on the committee.
Okay.
That's why.
Let's,
That's why I'm bringing it back to you guys to approve it, whether we want to or not, because we need to do this. And you assign myself and Mr. Bucavoli as members of this committee, so we have, with that comes authority to do this.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't know about that, sir. I think we need to get clarification on what authority you guys have.
You said you gave us authority to be members of the GSA.
Correct.
And
But
you-
not to do the work for the
good part is
city.
we have a seat there now,
Correct.
which,
Anyway, I think we need some clarification on that.
But
I
let
want
me
the-
explain something really quick. The way that's governed is that we go to a meeting and all the GSAs are there and all the water people are there, and they make a presentation, and we're required to either vote up or vote down on certain things. Now, I used to say I can't vote on that because I gotta go back to see the city council. We have to have some authority to vote this stuff up or down, or we're dysfunctional in the committee. We give you authority to vote at SACOG. You don't come back and tell us whether you're gonna vote it up or down. That's why we have committee assignments. But maybe we need to define what the authority is.
I think we do. I think we need to look at what resolution
On
we
all
passed.
committees.
well, let me just explain that when you're looking at how you want to, you know, how you want to do this, everybody that's in that room is voting now. When the description of the project comes up and goes to the GSA, or the GSC, excuse me, right at that moment, you present your case, and it's either thumbs up, thumb sideways, or thumbs down, right there. And then they take it from there.
That seems a little bit unfair, given that, I'm not saying that you guys aren't water engineers or I mean.
No, this is for people, the water districts asking for their projects. And I'll give you a quick example. BVID wants to change from ditches to piping.
Okay.
You know, if they change the piping, they save from 11 gallons starting at the beginning to finishing at 8. So obviously, it only made sense. And it goes through the GSC and then is asked, what does everybody think? If everybody thinks it makes sense, then they just go and present, well, excuse me. First of all, Katie's the one that runs this. She then looks at all the possible grants available, and then she also presents it with the Yuba Water. The value of this is that it's valuable for us to be there, not necessarily to vote, but to take our wants, to be able to be there to present our wants. Otherwise, we don't have anybody there. So when things are, you know, brought up, whether it's by staff or through the council, then we're at least there to help pitch it and, you know, at least get it to Yuba Water.
Okay,
he's talking
so,
about
so
the-
let's,
well, he's talking about the
no,
integrated water
correct,
resource, not the-
let's clear something up. We have an agency that we voted for, similar to the Yuba County Water Agency and similar to there's three.
Ordo it.
There's,
Or do it.
right, there's three, groundwater sustainability agencies, and we're one of them, right? And our task is to put together a 20-year plan.
Part of
That's what the state is saying.
Yes.
And the state is saying, I don't want 3 from each county, I want 1 plan
No,
from
it's our
one county.
choice, but we voted to integrate.
Well, I don't know when we voted that.
We
So,
did.
no,
Come on,
no,
Ricky.
no, I'm serious, we did not vote on that.
I got a resolution that we
Okay,
voted on.
I think I need staff to go back
Come on, just don't make a
and
big
find,
deal
it's
out of
true, and find out about what our authority is under the agency that we have, the Marysville Groundwater Sustainability Agency that we put together. And what collaborations are we working with the Yuba County Water Agency, because they're taking the lead on putting together a 1 plan for all 3 agencies.
it. Okay, I'm gonna explain it to you.
No, I understand,
You're
you don't have to
wrong.
explain it to me.
No, you're wrong, Mayor.
No, you're wrong,
No,
sir.
I'm not, because I helped form it. I know what it is. We're a GSA 1 of 3.
Correct.
We elected in this city council to join with Yuba County Water Agency, who is the agency who's paying for the groundwater sustainability plan. And we're putting our issues in there because it's all agriculture. So we sit on a committee formed by the Yuba County Board of Supervisors.
You are in an advisory committee for the.
No, we're not. We're advisor to the supervisors, yes. The
Yes.
GSC, the
Thank you.
Groundwater Sustainability Committee, is advisor to the Board of Supervisors. But the GSA, we're an independent part of the GSP plan.
Well, I think there's really unclear stuff on the legality of it.
I've been in ever since it was formed, so I
I
pretty well know
understand
what it
you,
is.
Ben.
But anyway,
I need staff to clear this stuff up, folks.
I don't think staff needs to get involved in it.
I think Wheatland's represented in it too now.
Well,
Two
Wheatland never.
municipalities are
Yeah,
now.
Wheatland never created their own agency.
That's
We
right.
did.
That's right. But the GSA is independent of the Integrated Resource Water Management Program that he's talking about, the grants, and it's part of the Board of Supervisors Advisory Committee on the GSP and the water issues. That's how it's formulated. It's pretty simple.
I think we need to have staff need to talk to U.S. County Water Agency about what the plans are to put together the
Anyway,
2020
If you will,
plan.
Major.
Well-
Major. Yeah, all right, I promoted you. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. All I want you to do is read these, make suggestions, and we'll send it off, and it becomes part of the draft plan. That's all you have to do. And also, I want now, when you go to SACOG, I want you not vote until you come back and tell us what you vote on. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Well, that's not.
You're on a committee, you assign the committee, and you assigned yourself to SACOG. And there's nothing that says what you're supposed to do on SACOG or any of the other meetings. Yuba Sutter Transit.
I think it's pretty laid out.
Well, I know what the function of SACOG is.
Correct.
But you never come back and say, can I vote on this? and then go back. You call vote for the chair calls for a vote, you gotta vote on it right then. I think we're making a mountain out of molehill on this. Let's move on. I should give my committee report.
Any other committee reports? Any council correspondence? City managers report?
Just really quickly, American Pickers will be here in town tomorrow.
Who's American Pickers?
It's a TV show.
You don't know who American Pickers are?
No.
Again, it's
My
unfortunate the chief of police isn't here because he could tell you more than you'd
Guard
ever
your
want to know
garage.
about American Pickers, but,
Oh, it's a great show. I watch it all the time.
so they'll be picking
What are they
through,
picking?
through someone's garage at A and 3rd Street, I believe here in, or somewhere in Marysville, I don't know. But they won't be staging here at City Hall like originally
where they
planned. They need to be closer to their.
Whose garage are they picking?
Don't know. I guess it's top
You
secret.
know? You know?
You're down there in that area, you're supposed to know.
14's in Highway 20. Ramirez.
Any other
No, it's exciting news.
council comments? Councilman Guacamole?
No comments tonight.
Nope, I said my piece.
Hudson?
Yeah, just quickly, I've heard some positive reinforcement about our code enforcement crew. I just want to thank you, Jim, for some of the things that are going on. Steve, apologize, for some things going on with code enforcement and squatters and so forth in some of the houses. And I've heard some good feedback from some of the public, so nicely done. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to say how proud I am of our staff at our fire department, police department, public works. I just feel like we're just really doing well, have a strong team, and I appreciate everybody so much, so thank you. And I really appreciated our goal-setting day yesterday. I felt like it was really productive. It was a lot of work, but it was productive, and I thought Katie did a great job, and I loved our sketching presentation. I think that added so much to just being able to absorb everything and look at it for me personally.
Kindergarten, I didn't know the difference between blue and what's the other color?
Teal.
Thank you.
Teal. He's the discerning one, the teal.
I thought it was colorblind. I kept looking for blue, and I said, wait a minute.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you for setting us up for
That
this
was a
morning. It
joke
was a good
anyway.
day.
Took it serious.
Thank you. I do also want to thank staff. I mean, based on the presentations, we know they go above and beyond, but it's always good to thank them in front of the public. What they do is amazing, especially public safety and reviving folks and getting people in situations where, I mean, that's way above and beyond. But they do it because that's what they feel their job is, and so it's pretty amazing. Thank you for my Marysville on Fire pin. I wear it proudly. Yesterday I thought it went fairly well. I think we'll probably never get into this like calming area or norm area. We'll probably always storm. I think Marysville likes to storm all the time. But I think eventually we'll get to kind of a mode, and I think we're gonna do some great things in the next couple of years and stuff. And so I'm proud of being part of this board and this council. And thank you again for letting me go to DC. I look forward to bringing back a lot of information, a lot of networking, and hopefully resources that we can continue using for the benefit of the residents of Marysville. With that, we'll go to closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation regarding the following personnel. City Manager. We agree to this.
What is that?
Is it a special meeting at 6 o'clock? Is it a regular meeting?
Regular meeting,
So I'd like to adjourn to a regular meeting of the City Council on March 19, 2019, 6 p.m.
I know, I'm always the last man standing.